Welcome to the Love Chronicles. I'm your host, Randy Love, and on today's show we have Imari Gabrielle. She is the owner of Black Millennial Vegan, and she'll be talking about her upcoming ebook release, as well as veganism, racial issues Black women face, and much, much more. So stay tuned.
Hi, Amari.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about Black Millennial Vegan and how it started?
Yes. Hi, my name is Imari Gabrielle, and my vegan journey began a little over 2 years ago. And I started out just eliminating beef from my diet, and then I went ahead and gradually kept taking things out of my diet. I quickly got to vegetarianism, um, and then I would sometimes eat different things here and there. Like if it was free food offered to me, I would eat it. Like if it had dairy in it or something. But then one day I was just like, I'm going vegan. And I never thought that I would go vegan. It was not like my plan. It was just a natural progression based on research that I had done on natural foods and what they were good for my body, and just researching um, the negative health effects of you know, animal based foods. And when I would learn these things and watch these documentaries, I just felt like I really needed to share it with the world. And I've always loved cooking. So, I love sharing like what I make and my journey to veganism. And I started noticing that people were paying attention on my personal Instagram account. And so I was like, okay, people actually want to see this. So I made a separate Instagram so that my personal Instagram wasn't just food. Um, so it started out as just an Instagram page, and then I was like, like I could sell products. And so in December of 2019 is when I actually started Black Millennial Vegan as an actual business, where I had a business license and everything made. Um, and I started selling just four products at first: two teas, two herbal teas, one for feminine issues, and the other one is just for like general immunity. And then Cmos has been my best seller. Cmos is an algae and it has 92 minerals in it, and it's just great for a lot of health ailments. And then the other thing that I created was a CBD headache roller, because the power of CBD is like amazing. And I just felt like people needed to know, like, hey, you don't have to take drugs. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to go to the hospital. You can do things and take things naturally that will boost your health. So that's like the long answer to your question.
So this journey started for you about 2 years ago, and then you brought your business up. It sounds like not too long after that, because about 2 years ago was 2019 as well. So that kind of happened within the same time frame almost.
Yeah, I'd say within the same year that I was like literally like a dedicated vegan, you know what I'm saying? Because I would, like I said, I would just read stuff and I'm like, bro, people need to know this, like, especially Black people. And that's why I call my business Black Millennial Vegan, because we are number one at the top of the risk list for pretty much every single health problem you can think of, even childbirth. So for me, I like to take the natural way, the natural approach to almost everything in my life. Like I gave birth to my son naturally with no meds. Um, I don't use like before I had my son. Let's say I was having period cramps. Like I used to take a leave every day. Now, like as a vegan, my cycle has shortened. It's not painful. CMOS also really helps with feminine issues, and the tea that I created, I've witnessed natural homeopathic substances working, and I had to bring it to our community. But I'm also, inclusive, and I have lots of supporters who are, Latinx or Hispanic or white. So I'm very thankful that the name of my company hasn't turned my other brothers and sisters away. But the reason why I call it Black Millennial Vegan is because I am a Black Millennial Vegan. And I want my people to know you can still eat good and eat well as a vegan.
That
Vegan doesn't actually always mean healthy either.
that is absolutely true. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries.
Yeah, like being vegan does not prevent you from eating, like you said, it's not all healthy. Like there are still like low fat kid snacks. I went to school
Mm-hmm.
with quite a few vegetarians and people that are vegan, so I ate like in a variety of ways. I still eat meat, not a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
I have the like experience of eating different types of food because of different people I hung out with. And I always did feel a little better when I ate certain things. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm. You didn't get the itis,
mm-hmm. Absolutely.
right?
So for people that don't really know the benefits of CMOS, and because that is one of your best sellers, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. So CMOS is an algae. It typically grows, well, most people get it from Caribbean islands such as Jamaica, St. Lucia. You can also find it in Vietnam. Um, it's an algae that's kind of brown and it gets dried in the sun, which turns it more of a white color. But there are different varieties of sea moss, and basically you turn it into a gel or powder. Some people sell it in the powder form. I don't. I sell it in a gel form. And you add it to different food items. You can add. Most people add them to smoothies, or they'll dissolve it in a cup of hot tea, which is also a really great way to consume it. And I um I just have seen the benefits of it, especially people who are healing, whether you're healing from like skin injuries or let's say you just had a heart attack or pneumonia. It floods your body with 92 minerals out of the 102 that your body is already made of. So there's no multivitamin on the market that gives you that many minerals and vitamins in one substance. Um, and that's the beauty of CMOS. And what it does is it expels mucus from your body. And mucus is, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Sebi, but he was a holistic doctor who proved himself in the American Superior Court um, to have cured cancer, HIV, and other various health ailments. He's from Honduras. But he wasn't like a traditional medical doctor, so a lot of people fought against his claims, but he actually proved himself. And people like Lisa Left Eye, went to his village in Honduras to get healing and learn about alkaline living. So yes, CMOS, it's just wonderful for the body. It helps expel mucus. And the reason why I brought up Dr. Sebi is because he definitely was an advocate for CMOS, and he just made it more popular, I would say. The minerals are what keeps you healthy. It's not really the food you eat, but the minerals that's in the food that you eat. And you don't have to always get it from pill, a pill form. So honestly, there's like enough information to fill multiple books about why CMOS is great. It'll take up a lot of your time, honestly, but it's great for your skin, your hair, your nails. It's great for expelling mucus from your body. Let's say you had pneumonia. Like I said, pneumonia is basically excess mucus in the lungs. Excuse me. So if you need to get excess mucus out of your lungs, if you're a smoker, and you are experiencing coughing all the time, like you got to get that mucus out, and that's what CMOS does.
So for y'all that don't know, this is what you should be doing, looking into it, because obviously everybody on this planet could use it for one thing or another.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you're not sick, even if you don't have health problems, it's good just to keep your body in good shape and running like a well-oiled machine. It's also uh, I don't want to pronounce this word wrong, but basically because of its gel-like consistency, it moves through your body with ease. So it helps with constipation as well. If you have like colon problems or excess gas, you gotta get things moving, and that's another thing that CMOS does.
See, I'm telling you, all y'all listening, it can help with anything. So I would definitely look into it and make sure that you do head over to her website because obviously that is why we are here. So you did mention you have your son and you had a natural birth. How I know this because I have followed you for a while. Um, how old is your son now?
He is about 2.5 months. He's 11 weeks now. So he's still in the newborn phase.
He is tiny.
Mm. He
What
ain't tiny though. He just young. This little boy is big. I'm telling you, vegan breast milk.
it has all the nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
What besides being vegan, what made you decide that a natural home birth was the best option? And I know we're in COVID times, so I'm pretty sure that had a little bit to do with it. But what made you decide that a natural home birth was your best option?
So the maternal death rate in Black women is extremely high. I
Mhm.
remember hearing the story of this woman whose name escapes me right now, but she was killed in Cedars-Sinai Hospital here in LA, and her husband advocates on her behalf. She was a super educated, successful woman in a beautiful marriage, and she was having her second child, I believe,
Mm.
and she was neglected at the hospital. And if you've ever, done a little research on the medical industry and how it treats people of color, you know that literally they've been taught in their medical trainings. I'm not going to say this is everyone, but in the past, um, they teach people how to treat patients based on their ethnicity.
Mhm.
And apparently, there's this rumor, there's this stupid stereotype that Black people don't feel pain the same
Mhm.
way that everyone else does.
Mhm.
And whether you're giving birth or you just got hit by a bus, they will just throw you some ibuprofen and tell you to go on your way. And I've actually seen that
Mhm.
story too, where a woman was hit by a bus and they literally gave her 800 milligram ibuprofen and sent her on her way as if she didn't get
It's
hit by a
ridiculous.
bus. So, hearing these stories of women dying in childbirth and how they're treated in hospitals, I knew that that just wasn't the place for me. And it's funny because as a kid, like I'm talking like 10 years old, I always said, when I have a baby, I'm gonna get an epidural because I don't want to feel that. It hurts. It's painful, and my mom, she did it. She had one of her kids naturally. And it does happen sometimes on accident because your baby just comes faster than you think and it's too late. But you know, I it's just the norm here in America to give birth in a hospital and get an epidural and do all that. But there are a lot of side effects to that. And that's the part that no one talks about how women who've received epidurals have back pain for the rest of their life in the
Mhm.
same spot as their epidural, because I don't know if people know, but an epidural is basically a needle that goes in your spine to paralyze you from the waist down.
And it
Um,
doesn't always
and
work.
and it doesn't always work. So you might get the shot and still feel everything. And it's just what's the point? And they are gonna put it on your hospital bill.
Mhm.
Speaking of hospital bill, that's another thing too. So it's actually less expensive to give birth at home and hire a midwifery team or a doula, than it is to give birth in a hospital. Like I've seen people post their hospital bills from childbirth. It's like $45,000, $28,000, $16,000, like just a lot of money. And any business that is solely interested in getting you in and out so they can make money, that they're not going to treat you the way you need to be treated. And so I actually I actually met my doula randomly. Like I had no intentions on getting pregnant, didn't know I was going to get pregnant. Met her about 3 months before I got pregnant. And we just started talking. I actually met her at my job. This is right before COVID hit.
Mhm.
Met her at my job and we just got to talking and I followed her on Instagram. And come to find out, I got pregnant and she really helped me find resources helped me find my midwife, helped me, through the process mentally and emotionally, um, to get ready. And honestly, childbirth doesn't hurt as bad as everyone says. I'm not gonna act like it's easy. It's not easy, but it's not like what you see in the movies. And every birth is different,
Right.
so I'm not gonna act like everybody's situation is the same. If you have issues before your baby gets here, like preeclampsia, or you have gestational diabetes, or things of that nature, like please talk to your doctor and you know decide if home birth is right for you. Now, if you don't have those issues, your baby's not breached, then I would highly recommend doing the research and going with the home birth naturally.
Absolutely, I agree. 2 points of story from my personal life, real quick. I follow a few different Black nurses on Instagram, Twitter, various other places, and I recall more than once them talking about the risks that Black women face when they go into a hospital for birth because of that exact reason you named. Black people
Hmm.
are said to have a higher pain tolerance, so giving them just the basic whatever instead of really looking into the problem has killed many of women during or after childbirth, and that is
Hmm.
ridiculous. Black women, let me clarify. That's
Hmm.
ridiculous because you are going there for care so that you can bring a child into this world, and they are not giving you the proper uh, attention that your body deserves as a human, not as a Black woman, not as anything else. You're a human just like anybody else that goes in and out of a hospital, but
Hmm.
they're not giving that attention properly. Second, you mentioned epidurals. My sister, when she gave birth to her second child, I got there right after she had her epidural and was there through the whole thing, and it never kicked in, and she still has
Hmm.
pain to this day from that epidural. So I don't have any kids, but offhand and secondhand experience, I totally agree with you. And
Hmm.
she's pregnant with a third child, so I don't know how she's doing that. But
Tell
yeah,
her to consider a home birth.
she's not
I
gonna do
know
it.
it's hard. I know it's hard.
She
But
ain't gonna do it.
but one thing I would suggest for people to watch so they can learn more about the process, and this documentary is actually done by white women.
Hmm.
Um, and it's called The Business of Being Born, because it's literally a business. Childbirth is a business in American hospitals.
Hmm.
And honestly, in other countries like Europe and Japan, not Japan, but actually it might have been Japan. Um, home birth is like the norm.
Hmm.
Like that's what they do. Like nobody
There's
just
a
goes
place
to the
in
hospital unless there's
Africa.
something wrong. If there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong, they're just gonna do it at home, like their grandmas come or they hire a midwife. Midwives are the primary person that they would go to. And midwives are in hospitals too, let me be clear,
Hmm.
but a home birth midwife is a little bit different. And also home birth midwives, I feel like people think that a midwife is just gonna come and just watch you do it, like just on the floor or something. No, they are trained professionals. They are licensed professionals. They have all of the tools that they would need or that they would have in a hospital. Like they have IV bags, they have oxygen tanks, they have Pitocin in case you're bleeding. They know how to handle hemorrhages. My midwife, I tore. I had a second-degree tear.
Hmm.
My midwife and her partner, they actually stitched me up right after birth. Like I didn't have to go to a hospital to get stitched up. Like midwives are trained professionals and you are still getting care before and after your birth with a midwife.
I love that. So for those that don't know, there is some more information for you because I didn't know. Um, I mostly don't know because I don't have any children, but but
It's okay.
for those that are pregnant or who are thinking of becoming pregnant because they want to have a child, do
Hmm.
take that into consideration. They are licensed, and yeah, you don't get that on TV a lot. Like that's not something that comes up in a movie or something. It's just like, oh, here's a midwife and she's just there. Like you don't
Right.
it's not something that's spoken about often enough because it's not seen as normal, like you said, in America. And uh That's kind of sad if you think about it. There are a lot of jobs and things that people do that should be uplifted and spoken about that are totally normal in other countries and other places. But like in America, it's capitalism. That's what's focused on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
You on your website it says dedicated to the decolonization of the human mind, body, and soul through plant-based remedies and food.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that for people who aren't gonna get it just by reading
Right.
it? Oh, yes, I totally what is your definition?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked. So, being colonized is a symptom of the colonization of America.
Mhm,
So, especially as a person of color, a
mm,
Black woman, a lot of us are colonized mentally
mhm.
because of what has happened in history. So, for example, soul food, which is what, our community thrives on. We love soul food. We love our fried chicken, our yams, our mac and cheese, greens, ham hock. You got turkey legs. You got, pecan pie and all these sweet, greasy, fattening foods. And that is why Black people are always on the top of the list for these health ailments is because of our diet.
Mhm,
And um that's part of colonization. Yes, it's still part of our culture, being most of us being descendants of people from the South if we're not in the South anymore,
mhm,
and um feeling like we have to eat the same way as our ancestors is a part of colonization, because a lot of those dishes come from the struggle. They come from like chitlins.
mhm.
That was all that we were allowed to have, the intestines where the poop literally went through the pig. That's what was given to us. And yeah, we made it a delicacy and we thrived. We're still here. But foods like that are not what we should be eating. And that's just period. Um, and another way that you can be or colonized is, we live in certain communities. All Black people don't live in the same areas, but a lot of times the inner cities and the food deserts are in places where there are people of color,
Mm,
and so we get into these habits, these lifestyles of eating fast food,
mm,
drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, um, literally eating junk, putting junk into our bodies, food coloring, MSG, excess sugar, salt, chemicals. It's and thinking that it's okay. That is part of being colonized.
mhm.
Getting a job, as simple as just working a job, that's colonization. Go to college to get a job so you can work for these white corporations. That
Say it
is
again.
part of
Say it
colonization.
again.
That's part of colonization. So, and it's not just Black people who are colonized. We live in a colonized society. This
Mhm.
country started from 13 colonies. So it's just a side effect of our dark history. And I can honestly say that my spiritual growth really was propelled by going vegan, and my mental growth was, um, helped out by going vegan. I always knew I wanted to own a business, but I didn't really know what it would be. You could do a lot of different things, but when you learn something and you become passionate about it and you decide, hey, I'm going to solve a problem and create a business to solve this problem and to serve people, then that's when you really start to understand ownership and doing things out of the ordinary, doing things out of the normal system of how things have been done for generations and generations.
I agree because there is this stagnant behavior, especially in the mind of people of color, especially in the mind of women of color. that you can only do so much, or there are only these opportunities that are presented to you. And within the
Mm-hmm.
last, I want to say maybe 20 years, like it's started to change, and it's still slow, but you're slowly seeing women go, I can be a lawyer. I can run for office. I can open my own business. I can start my own clothing line, whatever it may be. Like it wasn't a mindset before, or it was very well hidden. And very few people had the opportunity to get to the point where you knew who they were. Just the other day, like I was like, oh, look at me, I don't even know this history. The woman who sat on the bus before Rosa Parks was brought
Yeah,
to my attention last month. I didn't know that
yeah.
because I hadn't looked into it. Why hadn't I don't know, but
Did
it's
you saw it on that Netflix special, didn't you?
no, it was
Oh,
a news story.
oh, okay. Because
I didn't know
there
about
was
it.
a Netflix special, not just about her, but about people in history. And
Okay.
they talked about her, and I didn't know about her either. I forgot her name
I
right
can't
now.
recall it right now either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's even that, like we're our own history within the Black community is hidden from us because of how we're taught in school, or
Mm-hmm.
what's passed down through the family or through friends. It's like just certain things aren't brought up, whereas like you can't, it's like having an educated conversation and expanding your knowledge about various things is kind of like frowned upon. And it's like, why don't you want people to know these things? Why don't you want to see people elevated?
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Exactly, and that's another part of colonization is always being taught from a Eurocentric standpoint.
mhm,
Every book, every person that you learn about in history through middle school, high school, even college is Eurocentric. We're
mhm,
only learning about white people.
because they
So
don't
you
want
mean
you to
it's
know the real struggle that people of color went through, especially Black people, especially Native Americans. They don't want you to know how bad it was.
and not even just about the struggle, but about the triumph and about the, inventions that we created and about how I mean literally the menstrual pad was created by a Black woman, GPS was created by a Black woman, the cell phone was created by a Black man, like the stoplight on the street was created by a Black person, the first open heart surgery, Black person. Like people need to know that.
They should
Like,
definitely know.
and then you brought up Native Americans. Half, if not more, Black people in America do not know that Black people were reclassified as Negro, but were actually indigenous to America first. There were people of color, Black people here in America well before the transatlantic slave trade.
Mhm.
All of us are not descendants of African slaves. Millions of people did not come on these slave ships, like they said. It was actually only about 300,000 African slaves that
I'm
came.
gonna have to look more because I that's something that always intrigues me, and I get so frustrated while I'm looking into it, just because it's like this is not something that we're growing up learning that we should know, unless you come from a family that's going to talk about it, because nobody wants to talk about that struggle, because it's not something that they don't want to perpetuate the problems that people of color went through, or black people, African American, Native American, whatever. They don't want to talk about that because it opens too many questions, and it's like, well, I don't want to think about it, and that's conversations that need to be had. I, like you said, reclassified as Negro. I started looking into my background, and I remembered my mom telling me my grandparents were part Cherokee, part Blackfoot. And when I started looking back, everything was classified as Negro or
Hmm.
or mulatto or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I can't figure out exactly where my ancestors came from, because when you start seeing the census from 1800s, they all say
Hmm.
Negro.
Exactly.
You really don't know.
Exactly. They
It's
reclassified us,
mm-hmm,
and so everyone thinks they're from Africa. And
mm-hmm,
I'm not saying that you're not going to have African blood, because Africans had been traveling to America well before Columbus.
right.
Africans knew where America was. Columbus did not discover anything. There were people here when he got here. Black people actually helped show him around. He didn't figure
Before
this out himself.
Exactly.
He had guides. He
It's
had
it's
guides.
it's
It's crazy. Mm-hmm.
it's 100% ridiculous. But I do want to ask you about your ebook. You said that you're going to be having a book coming up in the
Yeah.
month of March. Tell me a little bit
Yes.
about that.
Yes. So I have an ebook coming out this month, and it's basically an introduction to plant-based living. And it's going to kind of talk about the benefits of being plant-based, what that process looks like to transition. It's going to have multiple recipes, easy recipes, relatable recipes that we all know and love that are just veganized.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna have a few submissions for recipes too, so they're not all coming from me. You'll be able to eat some of the things that other Black millennial vegans eat, and I'm really excited to bring this to the forefront and offer an affordable ebook for people to just go to one place to read about veganism from a Black millennial vegan standpoint. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited.
That's really cool, because people are terrified to look up certain things or try things because they can't find someone like them that looks like them, that went through some experiences like them, that are doing that thing. So they shy away from it. So the fact that you're making a book, you have your website, you're promoting this healthy lifestyle, this healthy mindset, this important transition that people should look into on multiple different platforms for them to be able to see. And then you're having that ebook. So it's like, okay, here's everything centralized on top of everything else I'm doing that you can look at.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. And as a person who is lactose and doesn't eat a lot of meat as is, I'm kind of leaning toward vegetarianism slowly more and more every day. So
Well, it'll basically be veganism if you don't drink milk or cheese.
yeah, I
Um,
currently have lactose-free cheese. Um, and I vegan cheese if I can find some that I like.
yeah,
So,
there's a lot of different brands to choose from. It's really all about trial and error. Like you
mhm,
can't, I'm not saying this to you in particular, but to anyone who's tried it and didn't like it, that's the thing. Like you have to give your body time to,
adjust.
relearn what it means to eat food. And some vegan cheeses are better than others. And you can't just try one and be like, all vegan cheese is nasty because it's just not true. So I think, I'm glad that you're leaning towards it and exploring that. It's honestly been a great life for me. And that's not to say that I haven't eaten some things in the last 2 years that were not vegan, but 99% of the time I'm eating vegan. And my boyfriend, my life partner, he actually wasn't vegan when I met him, and I did not make him go vegan. He took the information that was presented to him by me, and he made that decision himself and realized, hey, first of all, she cooks and her food is bomb. And two, I feel much better when I'm eating vegan food than when I'm not. And it's just when you open your mind and decolonize your mind, you'll see the answers are right in front of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For those that don't know, I met Amari years ago, through
Mhm.
music. It was, oh, I want to say what, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Um,
Yeah, it
so
really was.
we have known each other for a long time, but I haven't talked to her in a while.
No,
And
thank you so much for bringing me on here.
I absolutely needed to bring you on here to spread this information because people need to know, especially women of color, especially Black women.
Yes,
Get real down to the nitty gritty of it. But thank
right.
you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Randy. And I look forward to listening to this episode and the episodes to come.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you're looking for more information about veganism or Amari's company, Black Millennial Vegan, Amari, where exactly can they find you?
You can find my website where I have those natural remedies as well as a lot of vegan recipes and information at blackmillennialvegan.com. And that's black Millennial spelled Millenial, vegan.com.
This is Randy Love, and you're listening to Season 1 of the Love Chronicles. Laters, y'all.